Welcome, everyone. This is the Project Management Community Group. We are ready to begin. My name is Ed Puckett. I am a member of the steering committee. On behalf of the rest of the steering committee, I'd like to welcome you to January's meeting. As he quickly checks his calendar to make sure it's still January, because it's just been one of those days. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Jen. Awesome. So we, as per usual, we'll do some housekeeping here. We want your participation. We need your participation. But if you're one of those people, or you have, I should say, if you're in an environment, it's not about the people. If you're in an environment that has a lot of background noise, please mute yourself, and that will help reduce any distractions. We do have closed captioning. Live transcription is available should you need it. I kind of feel I should say we don't have a live studio audience, so there is no laugh track for today's meeting. If you've joined us by phone, or if you do these days, but every now and then there's a participant that joins by phone, and that's okay as long as you don't place this on hold, because then typically if you're calling from your organization and you put us on hold, we'll hear your university's hold music, and we don't like to have that musical bed playing while we're doing our presentation. So if you have any questions or comments to add, feel free to raise your hand or enter it in chat. We've got the steering committee standing by monitoring the chat feeds so that they can announce those questions. And if we need to get more details or clarify anything, we can certainly ask you to mic on and we can continue the conversation over audio. This session is being recorded, so just keep that in mind, and we will move on. So again, this is where we introduce the steering committee, and I'm going to try and do this. Our steering committee is full of awesome people. We've got Jen Birch here. We've got Christina Frazon, with Lisa Billows, and Alex Holland. And I'm checking the participant panel. I'm sure I haven't forgotten anyone here. Yep, Carol can't be with us today. She had another commitment pop up, so we're good to go there. And then today's agenda is very simple, very short, main presentation plus a couple of announcements. So yeah, let's get started here. Perfect. Our presentation's on vendor management, and this is where I'm going to introduce Alex Holland. He requires no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. He's from North Central Texas, and he's got an awesome presentation on vendor management. So I see the screen transition. So Alex, whenever you're ready, feel free to share your desktop and you can start cooking. Awesome. I do see your screen.
All right. Thank you. I'm in the kitchen cooking right now, so hopefully everyone can see my screen. But my name's Alex Holland. I'm going to get my video going too so that you can see my lovely face. And want to thank y'all for joining us for today's conversation over vendor management. This was a topic that was requested by the committee and the community. So I wanted to make sure that we let you know that we did our research and we have some great information for you today. I want to give a special shout out before I get started to Christina for working on the design of this presentation. This is an amazing UX design. So thank you, Christina, for your help. Okay, so before I start, I just want to give you just a little bit of a background of who I am. So I work at North Central Texas College in the IT department, and I'm the IT manager here. My goal and my job is to help businesses bring their ideas to reality. So I'm the person that's probably similar to a business analyst, listening to the information that the students want, that the staff wants, and then turning that into like a technology solution. I believe project management is important because it helps ultimately us to reduce our risk and allows us to increase our service value. And so an interesting thing about me is that I'm also a PA announcer and a DJ for NCAA athletics. And it was also 9 degrees here in Dallas. So as we get into the topic today, I'm going to try to make it an engaging experience for you as well. I'm going to be having a breakout discussion. We're going to have chats. I just want to be sure that this is not just me giving you like a class lecture, but I want this to be like an engaging experience for everybody so that we can discuss what does vendor management mean for us in higher education. And so with vendors, if you've experienced this situation in your college or university, you might want to put a like in the chat, but vendors are a challenge mostly because we are not able to necessarily know the the influence or the communication that is on the other side of the house. And so as project managers, we have to be able to build trust with our partners. We have to be able to understand their needs, what their outcomes are, and then being able to keep sustainable solutions going once the vendor or the partner leaves. That's part of what our job is to help bring that continuity in on our own environments. And so as we go through our goals today, I want to help everyone that's on this call to be able to leave the call feeling like their vendors that they work with are becoming trusted advisors or trusted partners within your own communities. And so we're going to look at vendor management, not necessarily from a PMI perspective of what documentation do we need or what type of inputs do we need to put into a framework. We want to see if we can really bring more of the soft skills or the power skills into this conversation, and how do we really build a relationship with who we're working with so that they can be a trusted team member on your project team. And so we're going to look at it from the Agile lens. We're going to look at some communication strategies that you can implement within your project conversations. And then towards the end, we'll have our breakout. We'll see what the community thinks is the best strategies as well. And then we'll look at how we put this together to design and build an active process. So let's jump right to it. We're going to look now at vendor management through the Agile lens. And so it starts just with a basic conversation about the Agile values. And so if you look at point 3, where we look at the customer collaboration over contract negotiations, that lets you see the mindset that we're trying to build when we do our vendor management. Now, there is a toolkit that's out there on the PMI website that will allow you to build, for the person that asked, how do I make this as a process? You can use a toolkit from their website. It's called Disciplined Agile. And when we go to link number 1, that will show you the main toolkit, which has not only this solution, but various other solutions of project management. And if we go to link number 2, we will see the vendor management strategy that's specific to our conversation today. So I'm going to drag the links over to the screen. And so just that first link takes us to the Disciplined Agile page on PMI. You'll see that the toolkit is below, and you have a way to see how can you evolve the work of Agile into business solutions. For the conversation today, we see that vendor management is at the top, but if you had other interests that are causing you maybe things you want to solve, you see that you have other things that you can click into, and it's all available. As you can see, I'm not logged in. It's available for you to access without an account. Now, let's say if we did click vendor management, to build the framework, we already see that there are a list of strategies that you can just read through and see what is the Agile way of building that partnership and that solution. And so I believe that this was definitely a very good, useful resource when I was starting to approach this topic, just to see, what is the best practice or the guidelines that are out there. So these links that I'm using within this presentation, I will be sure to forward it to you at the end of the presentation within our community forums. Okay, so the mindset. This information was on the website, but I wanted to break it down into more of a takeaway, or what's the short version of all this. And so if we look at the mindset of how we build value, it's by making co-creation with our partners. We're looking to be a trusted advisor within the institution that helps the external vendor or the partner understand what our needs are, and then allows the partner to make better decisions when they are working on our projects on our behalf. We also have a security aspect within it, in which we want to protect the organization and to address risk at the end based on our project management. And so here is the slogan, you could say, for who we are within this call. We are project managers that are trusted advisors. We create value through our partnerships. We co-create with vendors throughout the entire vendor management lifecycle to build and maintain and evolve the vendors from being just a vendor into a trusted partner. We pursue organizational outcomes over local process conveniences. So what that basically means is that we're not necessarily looking for what is the easiest thing to do, but we're looking for what brings the best outcome for who we are supporting in service. And we protect our organization by assessing and monitoring the project risk holistically in an appropriate and proactive manner. And that, I feel like that is the heart of like what I do for a living. And I hope that a lot of people on this call that rings true to what you feel is the spirit of Agile. And this is how we play it into the vendor process. Okay, so in short, we have 4 benefits of the disciplined Agile perspective of vendor management. And one, it allows you to see a new perspective from the old way of doing vendor management through a lot of documentation, a lot of overhead. We also have the ability to create service value within our organizations just by treating the vendors not necessarily as a resource, but more as a team member. We begin to work with our Agile values where we look at continuous improvement because we're using tools that are not necessarily things that you have to go out and pay an exorbitant amount of money to acquire, but there are things that you can use today. So if you're trying to build a framework or build a contact database, you don't have to necessarily have a relationship management tool. You could use something as simple as a spreadsheet just to get started. It's a very flexible toolkit. So now we segue into our strategies of how do we communicate with vendors to begin our process of building this trusted partnership. Okay, so here's the background of one Alex Holland. I work at the community college here at North Central Texas College, and so we do not have a lot of funds to buy dedicated tools and hardware. So when I do see ideas like this, like I want to get an agile process going with vendor partnerships, I have to be creative. I have to be very flexible. And so my options to making a relationship management system was to use Asana. And so if by using Asana, that allowed me to elevate from having to use Excel or writing it down like in a sprawl notebook. And so some of the fields that you can use to build your database are going to be, you want to have the partner name, you want to know who is going to be working with that account, such as who is the team member that's going to be responsible. You want to know, is the partner type someone that is going to be like a software or a hardware or a service vendor? And then you will definitely want to know what contracts are coming up to be under expiration or that need to be renewed. And then having your relevant documents within the relationship tool is just a way to keep all of your communication and forward progress within one centralized location. Okay, and then some tips that you can do to change that mindset from a vendor to a partner is to, again, remember that the partner is working to solve a problem that is ultimately going to solve your problem. So if you can work together as a team, it allows you to come to the conversation knowing that you're not on opposite sides of the table, but you're actually on the same side of the table. So even just having like a subconscious thought of this, hey, this is my partner, this is not just a resource, will help you begin your conversations when you begin working through partnership. Then you want to be able to communicate your needs clearly so that you understand that there's the vendor that is working probably from the industry perspective is understanding that the higher ed workflow has a different speed to it and has different goals. And so if you're able to create that value at the very beginning of the conversation, it allows the vendor and the partner to be able to understand what they're working through as well when they design and help you on your projects. Now, the third tip is related to an appreciation aspect of how we work together. So when we work here at NCTC, it's very small. It's very kind of a small knit community. And so when we work with our vendors, we do take the time to reach out and send thank you notes, or if they come on site, we're shaking hands. We're just getting to know them as a person. And it's very important that as you build a partner, this could be someone that you work with for several years. So you want to understand that it's not just an IT relationship, but it is something that can build towards like a mutual and a beneficial understanding between two people. So understanding their needs, understanding what they go through, just those kind of things can go a long way in building that trust that then helps you in the projects that you're going to be taking forward on going throughout the next couple months and years. And then one of the big ones is the vendor check-in. Having that expectation set up front, whether it's going to be emails every week with a like more of a stand-up process, or if you're going to have something which is called like a partner summit, where you bring everyone in together and let them all kind of talk through their goals and guidelines for the upcoming year, allows you just to not have a vendor that falls off in a way. Being able to have that check-in at some point and have it understood from both ends how often it will happen will allow you to build a better relationship in terms of your vendor and partnerships. Okay, so now we have gotten to the first breakout discussion, and you've heard just a taste of like what we're getting to make this mindset and this growth mindset for service partnerships. So I want to see if we can now talk as a team. We're going to break y'all out into small groups for about 10 minutes. And if you could just discuss within your smaller teams how you build and improve your communications with vendors, we'll come back from the breakout session, and then we'll hear from the group what are some other strategies that you can do. Welcome back, everybody. Looks like people are starting to file back in. And so now we're going to open the floor and just hear the answers in the room. So I want to hear from some of the breakout sessions to hear what was discussed and how y'all feel that you were improving your communication to the vendors or partners to achieve your goals.
Lisa, who from your group went? Did you pick a person to report anything back?
We didn't pick a person to report anything back, but I noticed not many groups had come back, but it seems like they're coming now.
Yeah, it should be closed as of about maybe 5 seconds ago. Looks like people are coming back in here.
Do we have a volunteer from our group who'd like to kind of give an overview?
Nobody drew straws?
No. We just finished talking when it said times was up. At least we just finished introducing ourselves when it said time was up.
Oh, no.
But are really all the groups here? Because it seems a little on the low side.
Yep, they should all be here. Got a lot of cameras off, but I think we've got, it looks like we had about 2 people drop off at some point during the conversations, but that's kind of normal. So your group had Michelle and Jenny, Barbara, Amy, and Adriana.
Would any of you like to share what you found most interesting about our conversation?
Jenny has her camera on. I could totally put you on the spot.
Yeah, you could. Thank you. We didn't really, I want to say we didn't address necessarily the topic on hand. We talked more about our experiences, the different places that we worked, right? And our over the time we had everyone from recently started in their current position to having been involved as with vendors for, 10 plus years. So a lot of variety in that. That definitely communication was a strong suit and important to have, but we didn't answer that one question that you had for us, Alex. So sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's all right. We were also wanting to make sure that y'all were able to introduce each other. It was kind of a double reason why we did breakouts. So if you were able to meet some other people, that's a win as well. And I'm glad that y'all are able to kind of get those introductions going. Was there maybe another session or breakout team that tackled the topic or talked a little bit more about their service process.
It looks like room 2, Christina, Lauren, and Ezekiel.
Yes, we had a good chat. Lauren, do you want to recap anything or?
Sure, why not? We talked about in the kind of scenario of going for an implementation partner and needing to evaluate the different ones, and so what are some best ways to go about that. And we talked about getting references for the vendors as you're going through that process, and trying to cater the references to like the same size, same circumstances. So similar size university or population, and similar constraints that your institution may have, if they have it. That's always a question. So yeah, talking about that. And then I saw in the chat someone mentioned doing the quarterly check-ins. That came up for us too, is having check-ins, and also just figuring out from the start like how you're going to communicate with the vendor. I think that kind of sums it up.
Thank you. That was sounds like y'all had a good discussion.
So Alex, it looks like your room was room 3.
Okay. Yes. I was meeting with Daphne and Dwayne. I'll let one of them go as I'm doing the presentation, but there was a good conversation over how we could talk with external partners too.
And then, will it change anything on your, like, if we leave it like it is now?
Well, I don't. So my name is Daphne, and first time I've been at this meeting. I work at NCTC as well. I wanted to hear Alex's presentation and support his work. And so, yes, I was in this room with Alex and Dwayne. And we also discussed the benefits of those planned, proactive touch points, as opposed to being so reactionary. We have to do that obviously at times, but having those things on the books where our vendors, internal, external, can have something to count on, depend on, know they're going to get FaceTime with you is beneficial and proactive. So I really liked that. We also talked about just kind of refocusing relationships that maybe have gone south, or I think soured was the term. And so we talked a little bit about bringing things back to our primary purpose, mutually beneficial goals, being accountable, honest. Dwayne mentioned transparency, which is always important and beneficial in any relationships. So those were some of the things that we talked about.
Thank you, Daphne. Okay, well, was there anyone else that wanted to go before we get to the last part of our presentation?
Ed, did anybody in your group want to share anything? Was Crystal, Ed, Jake, Tim, and
Crystal.
Yolanda?
Yeah, Crystal, Jake, Yolanda, did any of you want to speak out about any interesting insights?
Sure. Jake Weber. The part that I shared was just I like to have a separate conversation with the vendor, separate from the client that I'm representing. If it's a client on campus, I try to be open and honest with the vendor about our process. Whether it's pre-sale or during implementation, the vendor might have a preconceived idea of a timeline or a process, and if I can bring up or advise on Bucknell's process, and if there is an instance where things might go quote unquote slower, if I can alleviate any future frustration by explaining to them what our process is and when to expect that time where they might not get the outcome or have it move forward as quickly as they want, I find that helps eliminate frustrations. And then just being an open and honest about what our outcome is and what our desired outcome is. And the vendor wants to close the sale or get the project closed, and it needs to meet our timelines, and it needs to meet what we want from the relationship. And then I then say to them, how can I help facilitate on your end with the client how can I make things easier for you? And what's your desired communication channel? If it's their own internal PM software, if it's just through email, or if it's just me as a conduit, I try to make the communication as tailored to their needs as I can.
Yeah, I would add to that, Tim from Case Western had an interesting comment. When you think of all the different or departments inside a university that manage vendor relationships, it starts with procurement, and we know they've got their system that they use to manage all the vendors that are doing business with the university. We know the legal department has their own tools and ways to track the contracts, which are mapped to a vendor as well. And so it was an interesting comment to say, in a university, there's probably half a dozen, if not more, tools or systems that are being used to track vendors. And so just food for thought, it would be really kind of cool if there was a system that allowed, all the different departments to see their filtered view to help them manage their vendors in one system. But, we have our pipe dreams and then we have our reality, but just food for thought.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for your insights on that. And it sounds like you have a good process going over at Bucknell. That was very, I liked what I was hearing on that. So if you want to get to a point similar to that process, I did put a slide in to show how to make like a vendor management strategy and start building out your process. So we will jump right into it for the last section of our presentation. Okay, so similar to what Ed had said about every department has like their own way of doing vendor management. Maybe it starts in procurement. From the project management perspective, we start from our project scope and establishing the goals of the project. And so yes, we do need the inputs from procurement to know what the budget is and to know what we actually can work towards in terms of a contract negotiation. So where I would start with this process here at North Central Texas is that we would have like a balanced scorecard going, where we would first talk with the client and see what is the goals that they want out of the project, and then I would go and see if I could then turn those goals into more of a technical line item, for better words. And so as we get that technical line item, then I would ask all the subject matter experts. Maybe it's someone that's within my department, or it might be the vendor themselves to begin working towards those goals, and then we would be able to see based on a weight formula who was able to achieve those goals based on our scorecard. As the quotes start coming in, we begin to analyze the prospects, and it could be that we're looking for things beyond just who came in at the lowest rate or who can get the job done the quickest. We have other items that we can look towards to maybe eliminate or to pick a partner. And then when we get to the third area where we're looking at the risk assessment, this is where the security department and some of the other individuals in our organization come in to help us stay compliant. So we're looking at is the product going to be able to work with FERPA? We use a HECVAT form to allow software vendors to show that they are knowledgeable of security within their product so that it will match our area. And then as we get down to the contract negotiations, this is one that I have later on in the presentation that I want to ask and challenge to see are we just saying contracts are going to be a fixed rate? Are they going to be just an annual contract, or are the contracts that are being negotiated, are they being done in a way that is agile focused? And so that could be more of a variable contract. The last line item or last section on here is about monitoring the risk. And this is where I feel like project managers, this is what we do. This is what we do best. So the actual steps of project management is the way that we monitor and reduce risk within the environment. So since that's what we do as our general jobs, I'm going to focus the next slides on how we address some of the other processes. So some things to consider when determining if a vendor is a good fit in your partnership. On the left-hand side, we have some items that add value internally into the organization. And on the right-hand side, we have some items that could be maybe some concerns where they add value externally. So for instance, if you vet a vendor that has higher ed experience, that will allow you to be able to know that they are understanding of our use case, of our concerns, and that they have a little bit of insight on how to solve those types of problems. And then you'll see that as they have similar institutions within maybe their resume or their portfolio, that will allow you to do peer research or be able to ask additional questions to see what are the outcomes to anticipate. Then lastly, the ability for them to communicate their via, showing the soft skills. So just like y'all are in a workshop right now learning about communication through vendor management, you would want to hope that the partner is doing something similar on their side to learn how to communicate to their representatives and the people that they work with. On the right-hand side, just kind of watch for any situations where your vendor or partner is in more of a competitive situation where there's a lot of negotiation or pushback on your projects to the point where you feel like you're not on the same team. You might want to watch for vendors that are someone that you may have inherited from a previous project where the status quo is preferred over processes of innovation or improvement. And then lastly, just the communication hard skills. This is what I would say in short is more like the red tape situations. Critical thinking is definitely a big part of IT and project management. And so you just want to just be able, while you're vetting a vendor, just ask those questions to ascertain if they are able to help you solve bigger picture problems. When we get to the point where we're wanting to move from the vendor conversation to now you're more of a partner, a couple things that you want to look towards is that you know that it will take time for them to get to that level of trust. However, any partner that wants to get to know you or wants to be able to help the institution meet its goal of student success is a partner that you do want to work with. Someone that's able to help you co-create, and then also again, a person that's aware of the deadline. So if your vendor is so large that they're not able to really meet their timelines or help you move projects along, maybe you might have to go with a smaller vendor if that does give you the ability to meet more of your success goals within the institution. Okay, and so when we get to the point where we discuss the decision between option A and option B, here are a few qualifiers that you can add to your list as well. And so for us, a couple examples, we look beyond cost and time. We look for what is their security strategy? What is the references? Like I heard someone say earlier, and we also look at financial stability within the partner. From the discipline agile perspective, they want you to be able to understand, like when you do your contracts, if every contract is done based on a fixed contract, you may be locking yourself into a negotiation that is not able to be done in an agile way. And so maybe consider funding that is on a variable scope as opposed to fixed contracts could allow you to be able to work your projects with a lot of change or with things that need to adjust as the project goes along. A question that seems very straightforward, but it could be an assumption, is that you want to be sure that your teams that are externally also support Agile. If this is the first time that they're discussing Agile in the conversation, that could be a red flag for being able to use an Agile process with an external partner. Okay, and then also being able to confirm the contract allows for evolving requirements. There are some situations where the external vendor or partner, once something does have to change, you may run into some roadblocks or some obstacles. So having that information up front at the very beginning is a way to maintain that agile perspective. And then lastly, you just want to be able to encourage the communication throughout the project, not only just at the end where you're wanting to hand it over to the partner, but you want to allow them to have a little bit more skin in the game at the very beginning of the project planning so that they're able to then make their adjustments with the project life cycle and that you're both kind of on the same page throughout the entire process. Okay, so the last slide that I have is about risk monitoring. And so the definition that I'm using it is the essence of project management. And so, just by being project managers, we are inherently going to reduce the risk of the project by design. So if you're able to identify the risk with your team, with the partner, you're able to then move forward with productive monitoring of the risk. Being able to have retrospectives or have lessons learned before you start the project can help the partner understand the environment. You want to be able to have a contingency plan built in to your design process using maybe design thinking, maybe using like a change board to be able to understand what else could be happening in the environment. I discussed earlier how we would have like a conversation about follow-up expectations so that the partner is able to maintain a level of communication that you're expecting and that you're not over communicating to them as well. And then the last one is the one that's really important, I feel, for building trust, and it's eliminating any barrier to understanding how the work is done. And that does happen at times where we may have a design or an idea internally that we just can't share to the external partner, but there are some barriers that could be created that could be reduced. And so that's just some food for thought as we move forward. If there's ways to help the partner understand the work, it allows for continuity to be more productive down the line. So that is the end of the presentation of information. I did want to leave some time at the end where we could answer any questions related to vendor management or how you address the monitoring of risk within your projects.
We got the quiet bunch today, Alex.
Hey, that's okay. It is cold outside, so I know it's everybody's just trying to survive and stay warm and knock out the first day of class. But I did want to give that little moment, so I'll go in and knock it out to the last slide, which is our thank you slide. Okay, so this slide, this might be an Ed slide because he's got the golden voice. But if he is already dismissed, then I can go in and provide this information too.
The golden voice, really? Okay, so yeah, I'll hop back onto that presentation. Share my screen real quick. It might be easier to do it that way. We got a couple announcements here, so hold the phone. About to take over right now. Alrighty, so the slideshow mode real quick. Thank you so much, Alex, for your presentation. Very insightful, and really like the breakouts. So that gave an opportunity, like you said, for people to get to talk in smaller groups and build up some of that participation. So already giving away our first announcement, there is our podcast recommendations. If you are a member of the community group and you are seeing our discussion board post that Jim put out there to collect a list of project management related podcasts. And that link is available here. If I click this right now. And Jim, were we going to share this link, or we were going to post this on Connect and then share that resulting link? I can go either way.
I am planning on putting it in the library on Educause Connect.
Excellent. So,
but right now, the easiest way to get around all the login and log out, I kept it as a public document. So it is a Google Doc, but it's open to anyone who can access that URL. And you can add additional resources if you see any that you'd like to recommend. Otherwise, it's free for everybody to take a look at and check them out. Maybe someday we'll come back and we'll vote on them and we'll see which one are our favorites.
Awesome. So there is a list of podcast recommendations from you, the community group. So thank you everyone who participated in that. And there's some of these I recognize that I listened to myself. So, and there's some that I haven't heard of. So we'll be checking those out. Next announcement. We have our presentation calendar outlined through May, with the exception that March is tentative. We don't have any presenters there, but instead of March Madness, we were thinking of March Resource madness. No, March resource management. So if you have resource management figured out at your campus, or even if you guys are in the process of working through that, this can be a formal presentation similar to the way Alex just conducted his, or this can be a group of people that just get together from a couple of universities and we just run it as a panel discussion. So the quality of this presentation, I don't want to scare anyone away, but I'll say the quality of this presentation, the content of this presentation, a better way to say this, is really dependent upon who comes forward. Doesn't always have to be the steering committee that presents. We love to do that type of thing, but we also want to hear from the community group as well. So, and I will point out that we do have Chaz Grundy from Notre Dame presenting ComHacker, which is a interesting way of thinking about communication, outbound communication for project implementations. So looking forward to that one as well. And if I click this, that takes us to the final slide. That's thanks to everyone. Thanks to the steering committee. Thanks to you, the community group. Most importantly, thank you to Alex and Christina for her awesome design eye for that presentation. It was well done. I appreciate the time and effort the two of you put to that. So if there's no questions, comments, or idle chatter, we can wrap it up right here. Otherwise, have a very safe and warm rest of your Tuesday and a very productive week.